Hello. There's not much I can do about that sun. Yikes. Try and turn myself around here. Okay. Yeah, there's not much I can do about that. Hello. Oh, I'm just going to shut this window just a sec. There we go. That's a little bit better. Sorry about that. Didn't think things through before I signed up, but yeah, that sun's coming in pretty hard. Anyway. Okay. Yikes. Gee, that's great. Just the worst time. It wasn't even like that like 1 minute ago. Anyway, hi Mandy. I'm great. How are you? So it is almost 9 o'clock on a Sunday night. I don't think I've ever been on at this time. So it'll be interesting to see how many people turn up. It's summer, everyone's away, it's Sunday night, family dinner night. So we'll see who turns up. Anyway, while we're waiting, I'd love to know where you're from. I wasn't on here yesterday. I sometimes miss a day. So I always feel kind of awkward if I miss a day because I'm used to doing it every day. So anyway, where are you from? I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. It's obviously beautiful, sunny out. Missouri. Hi, Missouri. Haven't seen Missouri a lot on here. Are you new here or California? It's usually regulars on here. But I don't remember Missouri before. Perth, Australia. Hi, Kayla. You've been here lots of times. So I'll get into the questions in a minute. I'm just sort of waiting till I usually wait till I get about maybe 100 people on. Takes usually a minute, but it's a weird time to be on. So we'll see what happens. So Perth, so you're 6 hours ahead, 3 in the morning. And so, oh geez. No, you're not 6 hours. You're not 18 hours ahead of me. Anyway, Long Island, New York. Long Island, New York. Oh, you've been on quiet a lot for the last couple of months. What does that mean? You're Missouri, right? Been on quiet. What does that mean? Hi, Newfoundland. Right, Newfoundland and again, Ontario. You've been here before. I never got to Perth. I lived in Sydney and Brisbane. Sydney for just 1 year, then Brisbane for many years. One of my kids was born in Sydney and one was born in Brisbane. I was just talking to someone the other night and he was saying that Australia is very similar to Canada and Brisbane's very much like Vancouver. And then Sydney's very much like Toronto and Melbourne's very much like Montreal. And then he said Perth would be like Newfoundland. And I asked him about Tasmania. He didn't have an answer for that. Okay. Okay. 12 p.m. here. 12 p.m. Is that all? Oh, I see. Yeah. Oh, I see. So you're 9 hours ahead and you're tomorrow. So you're Monday, right? Um, Quiet and isolated. Yeah, I knew people who lived there for a while, but I've never been there myself because that's a long way to go. If you're, and plus I didn't go there to travel. I arrived in Australia, basically just started having kids. And then I was out in the suburbs raising kids. I know how to live in Australia and how to raise kids there, but I never traveled really in Australia. Okay, so let's get going. My name's Lisa. If you go in the link above, it has everything up there that I've got to offer. Courses, coaching, and my free behavior board. You're on that too. That's what makes it work because you got to give respect to get it. I teach what I just call it calm leadership. I don't know what you call it, but I call it calm leadership because I think you should be a leader for your children because they're watching you and they're listening to you. And when you are a good leader, they want to please you when they're little. And when they're teenagers, they just don't want to disappoint you. But anyway, okay, so let's get going with your parenting questions. There was one earlier on. I'm just going to back up to that. Okay. Okay, there it is. Stephanie, why do my 4 and 2-year-olds always fight over toys? Both boys. I love tips from Emmy. Why do they fight over toys? Because they haven't learned how to share yet. By the way, 2-year-olds can't really learn how to share, but a 4-year-old can. But that doesn't mean that 4-year-old should be sharing and the 2-year-old isn't. See what I mean? It's not fair and reasonable. So if the 4-year-old can have their own space, like their own room, and they can go and play in there for a while, then that might work. But yeah, you just might have to separate them. because 2-year-olds don't know how to share. They just can't reason things through. So yeah, it's very hard to teach a 4-year-old how to share. So yeah, just say, okay, we'll separate for a while, play, and then they usually will kind of learn how to get along in short spurts anyway, because they miss each other. So it's not that simple. I'm simplifying it here for TikTok. Usually we have to get systems in place. I have to know what your house is like. Like, have you got a separate playroom? Do they sleep in the same room? The 4-year-old can't just have all these really great 4-year-old toys in front of the 2-year-old and expect the 2-year-old to not want to grab them. You see, it's kind of, you got to sort of set them up to succeed, not to fail. Okay. First time mom, eh, Kayla? It's fun. I had a client. Sometimes I get clients who just have newborns and they just want to prepare for tomorrow. It always strikes me as funny that we all prepare for birth, which is one day, and there's really not much you can do about it anyway. The baby just takes over in labor, and but very few people tend to take courses on parenting, and I think there's 18 years of that. There's like one day of birth, but almost everyone takes Lamaze classes, right? I didn't do a darn thing for me because once those contractions start, all that breathing and everything, like if anyone had told me how to breathe, I would have tossed them across the room. I was just trying to hang on for dear life. So yeah, parenting is something you can learn, but there are definitely skills involved. It doesn't always just come naturally. It can, but it depends on how you were parented too. I must admit, I lucked out. I was adopted. My parents were old, a little bit older, and they were calm, never yelled or anything. So I kind of had I was kind of lucked out that way with parenting too. So I had really good role models for parenting. 11 p.m. here. Where's that? Is that? I didn't know you were online. Yeah, I'm rarely on at this time, but it's just one of those nights. I just thought, okay, well, I'm done for the weekend now, and I love talking to you guys on here. So, okay, how can I help my toddler stop throwing food or other things? She's 2.5. Every single thing she throws, you say no, and then you put it away out of reach. If it's food and she still has to eat, you say no, and then you hand feed her. Okay, they don't like that. It will probably be a really ugly meal where she won't eat much. She'll just go like that because she doesn't want you hand feeding her. But that's what I would do for that whole rest of that meal. So every time she throws something, you put it away. If she throws food, you hand feed her for the rest of that meal. And the reason why this is so easy for me, and it is, I must admit, it's easy. It always kind of was. I'm not afraid of a scene. I'm not trying to please them. I'm not trying to avoid a scene. I'm not trying to avoid a fit or a tantrum or anything. I'm just doing the right thing. You throw food, I'm hand feeding you. You can miss a meal, like it's an ugly meal, but you can miss one meal. They don't do it again. Once they understand that you're in charge, they just don't fight back. They just don't. They learn really quickly when they know you're a leader because they're watching you. They respect you from a really little age. So yeah, I have zero fear of a scene because I know behind every scene is a lesson. Every tantrum, there's a lesson behind it. So I have, like, as far as I'm concerned, bring it on because that's my opportunity to exercise my leadership, right? I did a video on that. That's a good. I've done a video on that. Never be afraid of a scene, or never try to avoid scenes. Sorry, I don't know why I'm handwriting. I've got so many computers and screens up here. It'll be so much faster to type it in. Okay. I love Brisbane, but dislike the busyness of Sydney. Yeah. Every city has its pluses and minuses. I'm a big city girl. Like, I love it. Yeah. It's just, yeah. I mean, I'm a city girl. I would not fit into a small town. I don't even like the suburbs. I like downtown. I raised my kids in the suburb, and as far as I was concerned, that was just my sacrifice for them. But now I realize there's tons of kids being raised downtown. Had I really thought that one through, I like city life, but everyone's different, right? You put me out in the country and I start getting anxious. I don't do very well with it. We're all different. I find the city very relaxing. It's bizarre, isn't it? We're just all different. Finland. Hi, Finland. You've been here before, Dot. Unless there's several dots. Perth, quiet and isolated. Yeah, I've heard that. Very much so. I heard it's beautiful. Okay, 3.5-year-old son keeps having crying moments over every little thing. Advice. Okay, usually at 3, if you're not, this is if you're not a leader. If you're not like everything I'm talking about, you have to bundle it all up. If you're a leader, all this stuff works. If you're not a leader, you might try some of what I recommend, and it's not going to work because you haven't got the whole package going. That behavior board will give you the idea of what I mean by leadership parenting. And if you want to, I have a whole course on how to become a leader. If you want to check that out, it's on the link above, or you can hire me for coaching if you want. But every piece of advice I give you sort of has to be packaged up. And if you're a really good leader in some ways, but not in others, nothing's going to really work. Like what I mean is, you got to pick a battle and go with it. But if you're not consistent, or if you're still yelling all the time, and that nothing's really going to work. Why did I say that? Okay, 3.5-year-old crying all the time. It says to me you're not a leader. By the age of 3, they usually start to settle down. If they're amping it up, it means they're taking charge because you're not a leader. They're finding their own power, and they're using that. They're crying over everything because it's working. It must get attention. They're wearing you down with it, and they know it. So that's why they're doing it. At 3, they find their power only if you're not a leader. If you're a leader, they don't do that. They start to calm down. You said to Joanne, take away stuff they like. Okay, or screaming, calling you. Okay, what do you do if they keep hitting you or screaming or calling? Well, you got a lot of stuff. You got a lot of work to do. Like what I mean is if they're hitting you, screaming, calling you names and everything, you got a lot of work to do. So I can't give you a quick, easy answer. Keep watching me. You can buy a course. I have a course on how to become a leader. You can hire me for coaching if you want one-on-one, coaching, or download my free behavior board. It's all in the link above. It has everything I've got to offer up there, everything to set you up as a leader. So yeah, it just means you're not a leader. That's all that says to me. Remember, we're never fixing kids. They're a reflection of your parenting. That's all that says to me. If they're name calling and hitting you, you got to set yourself up as a leader. That just doesn't happen when you're a leader. They would be embarrassed to do that because they look up to you. You're like a mentor. That's what it's like. When you're a really good leader as a parent, it's like a mentor. They respect you. They want to please you. So yeah, it's the bigger picture. It's not about the name calling. It's not about the hitting. It's the big picture. You got to become a leader, right? Okay, my daughter is 3 and will not sleep in a room, only with me. Any tips? That's the bedtime battle stuff. Yeah, you got to put her in a room and say, from now on, you're going to be sleeping in your own room and you're going to be staying in there. So every single time she gets up, you walk her back. The first time you say, I said it's bedtime, you stay in your own bed. The second time you say one word, bedtime. Every time after that, you don't look at her or talk to her. You're very calm and slow and purposeful. You just put her back to bed. Might have to do it 50 times or 100 times. It's usually one night of hell, but um, yeah, you just got to take charge of this stuff. Everything I see, and my daughter comes in on the odd live. I don't know if she's on here now, but she comes in on the odd live, and and it's very hard for me to answer a question without saying, "If you're a leader, that wouldn't happen." That's all I'm ever thinking in the back of my mind is, "Yeah, if you're a leader, that doesn't happen. That's just a reflection of your lack of leadership. They don't respect you. That's all." And you can learn how to get respect. That's what I teach. I teach parenting here. So everything they're doing is just a reflection of your parenting. All of their behavior is a reflection of your parenting. Their basic personality and their basic nature, they're born with that, but their behavior is all you. So it just is. So, but yeah, you work on your leadership. And I hate just saying that all the time, but that's what it is. When you're a leader, none of that stuff happens. It's not a, how do I stop this? Well, you do that. And then how do I stop? It's not like that. You work on yourself and none of that stuff will happen. It just doesn't. The behavior board sort of it shows you how to start doing this. Coaching is more intensive. The behavior board is about 10% of coaching. And then I have a whole course on how to become a leader. And if you have a 3 to 12-year-old, it just goes through 5 weeks of exactly what you do. It's all paced out. But you got to set yourself up as a leader, and none of that stuff happens. It just doesn't. When you say go to bed and stay in bed, they just stay in bed. It's not that they're obedient little soldiers. You don't want that. They just trust you enough that they just kind of go along with what's expected of them. It's just the way it is. It's just a relaxed kind of thing. Like if my kids had got out of bed, I would have gone, "What are you doing?" Like they would have gone, "Oh, sorry." Like you see, it's just that mutual respect thing going. Once you get that, everything's easy. I know people used to say to me all the time, "You're so lucky you got such easy kids." And anyone who knew me, I put in the work. I earned that respect. I worked for that. You got to work for it. You got to set yourself up as a leader, and then they're just easy. It's a mutual respect thing. If I'd acted out, my mother would have looked at me like this. She would have gone, "Are you kidding me with this?" I would have been embarrassed. She didn't say it that often, not that I didn't need it, but when she did, I remember being embarrassed. Like, I was embarrassed if my mom disapproved of me. That's what you want, right? That's that leadership thing. She let me get away with too much for sure. She didn't do it enough, but she did have that power over me. When she said that, it bothered me. It didn't. I was embarrassed. Well, some okay. Creative Petite said, "Joanna, you take away their iPads, things they like, etc." Nah. And if they scream for the iPads, my response to that is so. In other words, are they in control or are you in control? It's not quite that easy. If they're acting out, you don't just take stuff away. Look at that. Sorry, I live downtown. That's a weird siren. Um, I don't know what that one was. Anyway, it's not quite that easy. If you were to, if you're not a leader and they're doing things consistently and all you're doing is taking stuff away, it doesn't work. If you look at the behavior board, if you check that out, you're on it too. And you have a rule and a consequence. It's about showing them how it's done. You're setting an example of you being accountable. If you're accountable, they will be. And you don't just start by taking things away. That's a negative deprivation style of disciplining. The authority parent always just does that. I start with the positive action. So there's always two consequences for the kids. There's a positive action, like mop the floor. If they won't do that, then you can take the iPad away. So you want them to do a good deed or something good or a chore or something that they don't like for doing something bad. If they won't do that, then you say, okay, the iPad's going away for the night or for the day or whatever. So you never start with that. It's kind of, I don't like to use that, but if you have to, you have to. Anyway, check out my behavior board. That's free. The behavior board is completely free. So check that out and you'll see what I mean by 2 disciplines for the kids. You always want to start with a positive action, though. It's harder to get them to do that. It's easier to take something away, but if you start with that, then where have you got to go? Right? We're not just teaching kids what not to do, we're teaching them what to do. So if they do something bad, you want to teach them how to do something good. You want to replace it with something good. That's the idea behind that. Oh, hi there. I was just telling my brother that he needs a few sessions with you. Yeah. Don't ever buy me as a gift. That's rarely appreciated. Unless the person's already working with me, that's okay. Or if they've asked, oh, geez, I'm going to hire that woman, then that's fine. But don't just like, especially if you're a mother-in-law, don't buy me for your daughter-in-law. It's happened before. Yeah, that doesn't go over very well. Okay. How do you deal with a teen who doesn't want to do anything at all? Well, I don't care if they want to do anything at all. Are they responsible? So yeah, well, I don't know what to tell you with a teenager because I don't know what your household's like. Teenagers are a little bit different. You get respect with young ones by disciplining them. You got to get respect before you can even think about disciplining a teenager. But you sort of start with reciprocity. You got to do some damage control usually with teenagers first. The first week or two, we don't do much of what the parents like, especially the first week. Parents hate me the first week when it's teenager stuff because we have to start doing some damage control. And then we get set up and we're starting to build reciprocity with that teenager. Then by week 2 or 3, then we start to say, by the way, here's a chore chart. So I'm going to put the rule on the behavior board as follow chore chart. So make it really, really easy though. And then if they don't do the chores, then there's a consequence. But then you're doing something for them too. And then you say, now what do you want from me? So you see, it's got to be negotiating. And the behavior board with teenagers, we usually call it an accountability chart or family law or something like that. We don't call it a behavior board with teenagers usually. But yeah, teenagers, they're my favorite age. I started my business dealing with teen crisis work. And then I used to do a lot of TV and radio, like if something horrible had happened with a teenager on the news, and then it would be on the news, they'd call me in to talk about it, how to prevent this or whatever. So I was introduced as the crisis queen one night on the 6 o'clock news. And I stopped doing media work after that. I don't want to be the crisis queen. I want to be the prevention queen. I want to set you up as a leader so that doesn't happen in the first place. I still do a lot of crisis work, but I don't lead with that anymore. But yeah, teenagers are my favorite age. I kind of sailed right through. There's always a few little bumps here and there, but I kind of had a really easy time with my teenagers because there was no pushback. It was a mutually respectful relationship. So that's what you got to work on. Yeah, it's a lot of work. You know, you have to let stuff go. And anyway, yeah, teens is my favorite age. 6-year-old takes my stuff, sneaks it into his room and destroys it, then hides it. Okay, it's not about that. That's just a tell. It says to me he doesn't respect you. So you got to work on your leadership skills. Start with my behavior board, or I have a course teaching you how to become a leader. It teaches you how to get respect in 5 weeks. So, but the behavior board is completely free. Start with either. The course is based on the first 3 weeks are behavior boards. Then we get the 4th and 5th week, we get away from the behavior boards and we get into more the next level stuff. But behavior board, you can start to get the idea. He wouldn't do that if he respected you. Work on your leadership skills. Well, I get a lot of questions about 2-year-olds, but if usually people who have older kids never ask me about toddlers. Why do you think that is? It's rare. If I'm hired to work with older kids, the parents rarely ask me anything about their toddler. If they've got a toddler also. Do you know why that is? Because they already understand toddlers are just crazy. Quit trying to make sense out of them. They're going to do crazy stuff. They're crazy. They've got one marble and some tumbleweed in there. They're just brand new, fresh human beings. They're going to do silly stuff. Everything's a quick stage with them. And if you need to correct them, they can't go on that behavior board till they're 3. If you need to correct them, it's consistent corrective actions because they learn through repetition. It's not words, these mini therapy sessions. God, I hate those things. Mini therapy sessions, just use your words. Let's discuss your big feelings. A bunch of garbage. I know it's trendy right now, but it's just garbage. Anyway, they learn through consistent corrective actions. Actions, not words. Anyway, I keep it small. Discipline should be a tiny little part of parenting. The rest of the time you want to be fun and enjoy your children and bond with them. But yeah, 2-year-olds, they're just crazy. They might even stick their hands in their pants and smear poop on the wall. To them, that's normal because there is no normal with a toddler. They don't have any context of the world yet. Imagine if you've only been in this world for 2 years and for one of those, you're a potato laying on a mattress. How much would you really understand? You see? But they're watching. They're watching you. They're not listening. They're watching you. So it's all consistent corrective actions. If they're screaming and doing stuff you don't like, just ignore it. Just go, okay, and then just look away. They'll eventually get the hint. Well, why on earth are you trying to calm a 2-year-old? I don't understand that. My 2-year-old has been having meltdowns. This is from Brenda. And no matter how much I try to calm him, why are you trying to calm him? Why are you getting involved in his meltdowns? His meltdowns, tantrums, scenes, and fits are none of your business. That's his own brain learning how to deal with frustration. If you interrupt that, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. If you're talking to him during it, trying to calm him down, it's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. You ignore all that stuff, completely ignore it. I got a whole bunch of videos on that. I haven't done one of those for other clickbait videos at this point. I'll get like huge following with that. I'll get hate like you wouldn't believe. All I have to do is put in the title, ignore tantrums. And these people come at me like you wouldn't believe. But anyway. Okay. Are you a therapist? Small city? No, I've never been a therapist. No. And I've never been in a small city. Okay, my partner puts our 19-month-old in timeout and she's really sensitive. I hate timeout. I can't stand it. I think it's humiliating and mean. So just get rid of timeout. It's humiliating. Think about it this way. If you did something wrong at work and your boss put you in a corner, nose to wall, how would you feel? It's the same thing. It's awful. But where's the lesson there? Where's the lesson? So yeah, I don't like timeout. No, I don't not like it. I hate it. Never done it, never will. Can't stand it. It's like you're not even worth talking to, you piece of garbage. You go sit in that corner. It's just awful. I just think it's horrible. That's how the kid feels. What to do when my toddler wakes up every nap crying? Just ignore them. My son did that sometimes. He was the one who had tantrums. My daughter never did. That is a basic nature if they have a temper. They have tantrums when they're little. But yeah, and he used to wake up really miserable sometimes. I didn't. None of my business. That's on him. They outgrow that. They learn. My 6-year-old collects stuffed animals. How can I talk to her about trying other toys to play with or to why would you wanna what is that a bad thing? I don't see that as a bad thing. Why does that bother you? I had I might it just says I might crash on here. I don't know why. It looked like an official TikTok thing. Oh, I know what that is. Oh, it's my phone memory. That's what it is. Anyway, don't worry about it. It's just me. It's just got an alert on there. Um, oh yeah, other toys. I had it reminds me of a client long, long, long time ago. And it was a little boy who had older sisters and he liked playing with Barbies. And the parents had a real problem with that. And I had, oh shoot. And yeah, my phone's acting up. So anyway, the parents had a real problem with their little boy playing with Barbies. And I said, the only problem he'll ever have is the fact that you have a problem with him playing with Barbies. He had older sisters, and even if he didn't, like, I don't know if that's a problem. Like, why does that bother you? I don't know. Maybe it is an issue. I don't know, but I don't know why. 2-year-old crying over little things. I try to ignore like he always is. But I also think about the what? Oops. Terrible two thing. I don't think it's the terrible two. It's the misunderstood twos. It's the fact that you're trying to make sense out of them. You're trying to reason with them. That's the terrible part. It's on you. You don't reason with a 2-year-old. You just let it fly. Like it's just part of it. They don't make any sense yet. Don't try and make sense out of them. You can't make sense out of nonsense. 2-year-olds are kind of nonsense. They don't have any sense yet. So quit trying to make sense out of them. So there's nothing wrong with toddlers. It's your interpretation of them or your expectation of them is out of whack. Like I said, when someone hires me to work with their older kids and they also have toddlers, it's very rare that they ever ask me anything about their toddler. They've already been through it. They already understand. Toddlers are just crazy, right? They're just forming. They're brand new, fresh human beings. Are your courses written or are you speaking? They're written. I think in one of them, I just did a video and I just told a story, but they're written courses. Yeah, but in one of them, in the big one, the 5-week one, I told a story. What the heck was that? I was going through it the other day and I thought, oh, I forgot I did that. But it was a story that I had to tell it. It was probably the pool story. I can't remember which story it was. The pool story is my absolute favorite parenting story. Um, I have tons and tons of stories, but I've got, I think, 3 of them that I tell all the time. I've got 5 of them that I tell a lot. And because there's just so many lessons in each one, I got a million stories though, but there aren't always, some of them are just funny, but yeah, you talked about your son-in-law letting your grandkids. I can't comment on that. I don't know what's going on there. How do I stop yelling? It seems to be what I go to right off. You only yell because you don't know what else to do. So I'm teaching you what else to do here. Use my behavior board. It's free on my website. I mean, up on the link. Well, you can still go to my website, but the link above has it all in bullet point form. That's that link tree thing that I just set up. It just makes it easier for you to punch in. It has everything I've got to offer. The behavior board's free on there, and it will have no yelling as your rule. The kids will love that because every time you yell, you have to do something nice for them. You have to play with them or like do something with them that they love and you hate. I try not to reason with them after they stop crying, but it seems to keep repeating, crying. That's because you're trying to reason with them. Why are you doing that? I know it's trendy right now, but you can't be you can't be a regular of mine. You wouldn't be doing that. Why are you reasoning? What? I don't understand that. Oh, I can feel it coming on. I want to go into a big sermon about that, but never mind. If you're a regular, you know how I'm feeling right now. Like my throat's closing. I just want to go into a big spiel. Yeah, I hate these many therapy sessions. They're just ridiculous. They're just for you. They're not for your children. Okay. Brenna, Brenny, be red, Brenna, Brenda. That's cute. I'm so thankful for your knowledge. You helped me be a better mom for certain. What a relief. Oh, I'm so happy. Thank you so much. That's why I keep turning up here because I get comments like that and just keeps me coming back because I love, love, love what I do. Teen not listening? Are you listening? The number one skill with teenagers is to listen, to understand, and show empathy, and then stop talking. Don't give advice. Just stop talking. When they're talking to you, just listen and go, yeah, that would be frustrating. Yeah, I understand. Then just shut up. That's hard. Okay, so you listen to understand, show empathy, then stop talking. If they want your advice, they're going to ask for it. They already know what it is, anyways, usually. Okay, so you listen to understand. What that does is it encourages them to talk to you more often, and they will start asking your advice. Even when they do, I never told my kids what to do, even when they were little. They'd say, what should I do? And I say, well, I don't know. Let's figure it out. What do you think you should do? And I'd let them come up with their own ideas. I might throw in the odd suggestion, but I let them kind of come up with their own ideas. So yeah, if they're not listening to you, it says to me, you're not listening to them. You're not a good listener. You can't use the behavior board with a 2-year-old. They haven't got that frontal lobe even. I think it's just a little feather right now when they're 2. They need that frontal lobe, which is the reasoning. That's when they can stop and think before they act. And they're just on the cusp of that at 3. They can do it. They can do it a bit younger, but they're sort of 3 is a really good age to start doing that. That's when they can start to reason more. But yeah, it starts at 3, not 2.5. Okay. Even when 6-year-old is on the 24-hour media blackout, he's still not doing what's on the behavior board. That's right, he doesn't. What do you mean? Is he still breaking the rule, or he's still not doing the other discipline, the other consequence? Once you've gone to the media blackout, the other one they don't do, right? So I'm assuming you're not talking about that. But what you mean is he's still not following the rule. That's fine. He can still keep breaking that rule in those 24 hours. So you don't do anything about that. Just say, just stay calm. So I'm assuming that's what you mean by that. How to deal with a stubborn 3-year-old? Well, the same as everything else. Remember, it's not about them, it's about you. When you're a leader, I don't care if they're stubborn, they have ODD, WXYZ, ADHD, I don't care what they've got. It means nothing to me. I'm a leader. I can get respect because I'm a leader. I don't get respect because they're stubborn or not stubborn or have ADHD or they're feisty or whatever. It has nothing to do with it. I'm a leader. So they follow. You lead, they will follow. It's just the way it is. It doesn't matter what they're doing. I never stop to think about that. I work on myself, not kids. It's all about you. You lead. Leaders focus on themselves and what they're doing. Like if a kid's acting out, I think, what did I miss? What am I doing wrong here? I never look at the kid. Like I never think what he's doing wrong. Does that make sense? Yeah, it is difficult. Kaylee, you're asking about, parents are they not on the same page? You don't have to have the same style at all, but you have to be on the same page. What I mean by that is you can just have one leader. That was me. My ex-husband was not into discipline. He didn't want to do it. We used to call him the treat master. He wanted to take the kids out for pancakes and, fun stuff. That was what he liked. And so that was his role. My role was I was the leader. So what the kids would push him more. And if I wasn't around, not if I was around. And then he said to me, one day he took them out, or took my son out, and took our son out. And our son was just rotten. He was, just pushing his dad around. He says, what should I have done? Just say, do you want me to tell mom? And our son was good as gold after that. Didn't want anything getting back to me. So you don't have to both be this. There's usually is one leader, usually, but you have to support each other. Like my ex-husband was supporting me. Do you know what I mean? Like he didn't say, let's not listen to mom. It was like, do you want me to tell mom? In other words, we're on the same page. We're going to be concurring with this. You see what I mean? So you're always going to, usually one parent is the leader and the other one's not as much. Then that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, what you have to do is if you're fighting over what kind of parenting style to use, you put your style and their style in a hat, or you flip a coin for it and say, we're going to do this style for 3 weeks. If it doesn't work, we're going to do another. Because if you were to take different methods, and like if you were to throw timeout into my leadership method, it would tank. Because I think timeout's mean, and I teach respect, so respecting your kids. So I think timeout's horrible. So if you were to try and mix and match different parenting styles, you can't. It's like a diet. You can't pick and choose what you like from different diets. Well, I like this, so we're going to do it this way. Well, I like that. Let's see if it works. It doesn't work that way. You have to pick a path and go with it. So you flip a coin. You decide on which parenting path you're going to go with for 3 weeks with respect to the other person. If it doesn't work, then you switch over to their way. Sometimes I will get clients who, and they'll hire me, and then there'll be 2 parents in the Zoom session. Oh, sorry, it's really dark on my computer. Sorry about that, YouTube. And it's always TikTok I'm talking to. That's where my big audience is. So anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah. So I'll get hired by, why is it so dark in here? It's usually lighter. Oh, I know. I haven't got enough lights on. Anyway, never mind. You don't care what I look like anyway. It's just a information thing. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah. I'll get hired by parents and one will be sitting up like this and the other one will be like this. And I'm like, gee, I wonder which one wanted to hire me. So what I'll sometimes do is if the other one is really being difficult and you can just see they're very disrespectful the whole process, and that's fine. So what I'll do is I'll just say, well, let's just eliminate you and we won't even put you on the behavior board. I just hooked up my mic for you too. Won't even put you on the behavior board. So sometimes I'll completely eliminate one of the parents off the behavior board. I would rather them not be on it if they're not going to do it. So you don't want to just put a name on there and say, I respect that. You don't want to be on it. So I'll just work exclusively with your wife or the husband or whatever. So, but yeah, it is tricky. If there are and usually marital difficulties are happening at that point. I'm not a marriage counselor or anything, but a big part of my job is that, is because if your marital problems are as a result of your parenting or your kids or what's going on with your kids, then obviously I'm going to help with that. But if you're fighting over money, that's nothing to do with me. But if it's parenting, then that really comes into the sessions in a big way. So yeah. Okay, it's a very good question here, and someone already kind of asked it, and not quite as directly, but this is from M. If you do a 24-hour blackout and they have bad behavior during the 24 hours, should I extend the blackout? No, because then it's like a never-ending cycle. Just you acknowledge it and say, oh, well, there you go again. That's why we got the blackout, you know. So no, you don't keep putting on top. The only time you do, and this is kind of I don't even like to talk about this, but every so often I will. It comes up in coaching a lot because I already know the ages of the kids. If you've got a 9-year-old and over, you can double the 24-hour media blackout. But even then, it's done in a very specific way, and I don't like to do it. It's rare that I'll suggest it because then what are you going to do for 2 whole days? You know what I mean? Like you got 2 whole days, your hands are tired. You're not tired, tied. Your hands are tired. So you got 48-hour media blackout. What the heck are you supposed to do? What leverage have you got after that, right? The only way I'll do that, and I'll just explain it quickly, is if you've got a really cheeky 9-year-old because you have no respect at all. You're not a leader at all. So they've got 9 years of being in charge. And then you say, okay, so you broke the rule. Let's go to the behavior board. And they're starting to yell at you. They might even be swearing at you. They are mad, right? Because they don't want to get that consequence. So you say, okay, the consequence is you have to empty the dishwasher. No effing way am I going to empty up that dishwasher. I would say, I don't like the way you're speaking to me. Because of that, 24-hour media blackout starts now. Do you understand? They go berserk. Okay. Okay, fine. I'll empty out the dishwasher and they're swearing at it. It's too late. 24-hour media blackout started 30 seconds ago. Okay, that was your choice. Let it go. Okay, they keep at you. And I mean, this is only when it's really bad, right? And they're really at you and they're saying, they're throwing stuff, punching holes in walls, whatever. Say, I'll tell you what, if you keep this up, I'll double it and it'll be 48-hour media blackout. You give them a warning with this. And you say, so what are you going to do? And stop talking and just look at them. They keep at it. Worse and worse and worse. You say, that was your choice. 48-hour media blackout starts now. And then just disengage. And it's the only time I'll ever do that. It's rare that I do that, though. It's very rare. Because where have you got to go? I've just accelerated the situation. It's very rare that I like to do that. But sometimes it's necessary. It's the only time I'll ever extend media blackout is in those. And you can only do that with a 9-year-old and over. 9 is a tween. It's just things start to shift and change at that age. It's a tough one to do, though, and I have to be very careful who I do it with. It's not even just about the kid. It's about the parents. I don't like to push some parents to do that because I don't think they can handle it. And other parents, I say, I think you're ready for this, and the kid needs it. So it's a tough one. 2-year-old swearing, yeah, just ignore it. Nothing you can do about that. Just ignore it. Oh, it's not immediate blackout. It's sounds like that, doesn't it? It's media, like screen time. So all screens, like iPad, phone, computer, all screens, blackout. No TV, nothing for 24 hours. So, but yeah, it does sound like immediate blackout, doesn't it? Immediate blackout, all the lights are out. Yeah, no, it's media. Um, But we don't start with that. That's the second. If they won't do the first consequence, then we say, well, that was your choice. Now you've got media blackout. I should make that more clear. It does sound like immediate blackout. That reminds me of my daughter. This song came on. It was an oldie, vintage song, like from Sonny and Cher show. I got you, babe. They say our love won't pay the rent, blah, blah, blah. And I got you, babe. And my daughter started singing it. She was about 3 or 4, and she goes, I got toothache instead of I got you, babe. She heard I got toothache. Reminded me of that. Okay. I was going to ask the same question about, well, now I'm thinking, how many other people out there think it's immediate blackout? Because it sounds just like it, right? It's in the behavior board, which is free, and it's the default, the one that we go to if they won't do the first consequence, because it's in positive action. If they do something bad, you want them to do something good. Often you can't get them to do that. If they won't do that, then you take something away, the negative deprivation, you default to that, which is media blackout. Usually it can be something else. Take away Lego for a day, take away whatever, but you're taking away something. You can always do that, but you can't always get them to do something. And then also, oftentimes when you say, okay, media blackout starts now, 24 hours, fine, okay, I'll empty the dishwasher. Well, it's too late. Once you've said that, you can't go back. And then if they run and empty the dishwasher, say, well, that was nice, but you still got media blackout. Testing boundaries is a normal part of development to be expected. Uh, hmm. I'm going to do a video on that. I don't want to get into it here, but I would disagree with that. Only because my kids didn't do that. Because I was a leader. So why would they test boundaries? They already knew what they were, and they already knew. Is testing boundaries? It's normal. Like tons and tons of kids do it, but it's not. It's not all. Not all kids are going to do it. If they have a leader, they don't do it. If you're a really strong leader, why would they test you? See what I mean? Why would they bother? My kids knew 100% exactly how I would react to everything, no matter where we were, what time of the day or night it was. I was the exact same mother all the time. And if they did do something that I didn't like or that they knew was wrong, I would just go like this, really? And they, oh, sorry, mom. It was that easy. When you get good at this, it's that easy because it's mutual respect. Plus, if I was impatient with them and I was, come on, I said we got to go. And usually it was something like that because I hate being late. So if we were rushing somewhere, they would look at each other and go like this. Because they knew they would say later on, Mom, don't you think you were a bit hard on us? And I go, I know. What do you want? They said, we'd really like to go to the water slide park after school. And I'd say, okay, fine. So I was also accountable for my actions. See, it was mutual respect. So yeah, they don't necessarily push boundaries, but I'll do a video on that. Toddlers will. Toddlers will try anything. They'll try anything. But when they get 3 and over, no, they don't need to anymore. The pushing boundaries one. That brought up a really good point, though, because I hear that a lot. Oh, it's normal for kids to test you and all. No, it isn't. No, not when you're a leader. They actually don't need to. 1-year-old hitting, slapping. I actually have a course on that. If you go in my link above, it's called Toddlers Who Hit, Bite, etc. It's a whole course on that. It's not about words. One word is sufficient. Just say no. And then you do a consistent corrective action. You take something away, remove them, remove the other person, whatever. So it's a consistent corrective action. You have to do it every single time, though. And because they learn through repetition, and don't talk about it. They don't care. They're not listening to you. It's actions. What's the point in talking to a 1-year-old or about stuff like that? There's just no point. Should I be concerned when a 5-year-old says, or while screaming, I wish I wasn't me? Okay, if they say that when you're at Disneyland riding on a Dumbo ride, then you might want to be concerned. If they're saying it when things aren't going their way and they're not getting their own way, then I would just go, whatever. Like, wish I wasn't me. Okay, because it's a manipulative thing. I wish I wasn't me. I hate you. You hate me. I'm ugly. I'm stupid. You're ugly. You're stupid. That's all stuff that they say to manipulate you and get some sympathy. And then you start asking questions like you're asking me, what should I do? Well, nothing. I would just go, whatever. And then someone commented, I don't hardly ever read comments. Most of them are just kids and, nasty stuff. So, but sometimes I'll read comments. And one of them said that my mother said to me, whatever, because I always say if they're just acting stupid, I hate you, you hate me, because they're mad. You just go, whatever. And then this person said, my mother said whatever to me and it destroyed me for life. And I thought, that's not what did it. There was other stuff going on. It wouldn't have just been that because you were mad at not getting your own way. So, yeah. And it's a package. Like you've got to put all this stuff together. It's a it's like a diet. You got to do it all together. Like you don't if you're going to look for parenting advice, just watch one person. Find one you like and stick with them. If it's me, fine. If it's someone else, fine. But look for these two things. They have to have finished the job. Have they raised teenagers into young adults? Have they actually finished the job? They know what it's like to live with teenagers. Otherwise, don't listen to them because it's a whole if they don't know how to get into those teen years and sail through them, don't you know also, they have to have had experience with hundreds of other kids. My kids were easy because I got respect when they were little. How can I give advice for parents who have troubled teens when I never had them? But I worked with them. I mentored troubled teens. So they have to have had experience with hundreds of other kids. And then just stay in that path for a while and follow that. Because if you're to mix up all these different methods, what we teach is a whole methodology. It's all meant to be used as a package. You don't pick and choose what you like from different experts. It would be like financial advice. If you're you don't want to put your money in a million different things. You diversify to a certain extent, but you still want to get organized with it. You know what I'm saying? It's like dieting. Well, she said to do this, he said to do that. So it just doesn't work. It's got to be used all together because I teach calm leadership, like how to give respect to get it. That's what the behavior board teaches you. I never used a behavior board. It's just showing you how to do that because you're on there too. So, but you got to use it as a package. So when other people, oh, well, I know that doesn't work. My parents used to ignore tantrums and it destroyed me or something like that. Yeah, well, they were doing other stuff wrong and guaranteed. If ignoring a tantrum destroys your child, you got bigger fish to fry. You're missing something big there. So yeah, if they don't feel loved and confident in how you feel and their place in the family, you got more fish. You got bigger fish to fry. You got to work on other stuff. So you can't just pick and choose different things and say, that's it. That's what you do. That's what you're doing right. That's what you're doing wrong. Are you doing the whole package? I've never read a parenting book, so I don't know. Kids taught me all this, and I've never wrote a book, and I've never read a book on parenting or kids, so I wouldn't have a clue. Yeah, well, exactly. Someone said, "Yeah, one word doesn't destroy your life." Mom's, it's a repeated stuff. Of course it is, and I know all that. Um, yeah, online stuff. This is something I've thought about doing. I used to do a lot of this because I used to work with troubled teens more, like parents who had teens in crisis. And online bullying is a real thing. And like it can really lead to, and you know what I'm talking about, it can lead to some horrible stuff. If okay, so online bullying, like a lot of people are nasty on here, and that's fine. I couldn't imagine giving a crap what a stranger thinks of me. If they're going to be rude and say something awful, I'm thinking they're not like it wouldn't even affect me. Teenagers don't have that strength. They are affected by complete strangers saying nasty stuff, and it can send them down a really bad path. So, yeah, it's online. Online bullying is a real thing. And then I always say to the parents, I say, well, just turn everything off. Oh, well, I can't do that. Yeah, you can. Turn everything off for 1 to 2 weeks. Online bullies get really sick and if they're not getting to you, then they just move on to someone else. So, but yeah, online bullying is just horrendous, horrendous. Because if there's a nasty comment somewhere, look at the source. Like I couldn't write that stuff. So look at the source. Like, is that someone that you really care what they think? Like if anyone can spew out something so awful and so hateful, would that be someone that you'd care about their opinion anyway? So that's why I always try and teach kids and teenagers. Yeah, they're looking for a reaction. Of course they are. I get that. Um, how do we prepare our kids for that? Um, I was never bullied, and neither were my kids. Because I always said to them, and well, I have some methods on how you deal with bullying. I just did a video on that a couple days ago, how to bully proof your kids. Unfortunately, in the explanation in my video, it went bulletproof. It's just auto corrected, and I didn't pick it up. It's bully proof. But also, I said, and I made this point, and I kept drilling it in. And I said, think about this: the person, what's behind that hateful comment? Think about how sad that person must be. Bullies are always messed up. You can't be mean if you're happy. It's impossible. So if you like yourself and you have high self-esteem, you can't be mean. It's impossible. Think about it. If you're happy, can you be mean? It doesn't. So I always said those nasty people are just miserable people. So just pity them. And that's the way I grew up, and it never bothered me. Bullying, I was never bullied. And but yeah, that's what I told my kids. Think about the source and pity them. So yeah, they were nothing affected them either. And then someone I was talking about that, and then someone said on here, and then they said, "Yeah, well, then you're." How did I put it? And then they said, "Yeah, but they have mental health issues." Mental health issues. That just means they're nasty people. Mental health. It's not mental illness. Mental health issues can just mean you're nasty. So, and that's what they didn't like me at all. They kept coming at me. I shouldn't have said anything, but I couldn't. Sometimes you just want to say stuff. So I think it's funny. Okay, teen boys, tips with teen boys. I'll tell you, actually, I've got some very good advice for teenagers. Very good advice here, because what I went through with my son, he was 14. We were very close and talked about everything all the time. And every morning he'd be in the kitchen, and I'd go, "Morning, sweetie." And he'd go, "Morning, mom," the voice cracking. And then one day, literally, he was 15. One day, literally, this happened. I said, "Morning, sweetie." And he goes, "Morning, mom." His voice stopped cracking. He just turned into a man. Also, he stopped talking as much. He just didn't chat like we used to always chat about everything. He just was turning into a man, right? So I thought, we were like girlfriends almost. And he always said that, "I'm not your girlfriend." "Oh, I'm not your girlfriend, mom." I'm a guy, right? So I was like, oh, I kind of missed him. But I thought, how am I going to bond with this kid? He liked heavy metal music. All he wanted to do was game and play heavy metal music. And I thought, I don't like either of those. So I thought, what am I going to do? How am I going to bond with this kid? Like, we were still close, but we didn't talk as much. I missed him. So you know what I did? I became furniture. And I tell this a lot in coaching. What I did was, he'd be in the rec room playing video games, and I'd just grab a magazine, not a phone, because a phone is dismissive and rude. So I would just take a magazine, and I would just sit down beside him, watching him play video games, but also flipping through my magazine. So I was furniture. I didn't talk to him. I didn't ask him. Next thing you know, as time went on, he's handing me a controller. We're playing games. He's finding me games that I actually like. We ended up enjoying Guitar Hero together. And so then we started bonding that way. I entered his world, but I was there waiting to be invited. So I didn't force myself in his world. Next thing you know, he's making me playlists of heavy metal music he thinks I might like. My favorite band, my favorite album became, I'm only going to say it once, and I hope there's no kids on here. No, I can't say it. It's someone's greatest hits, and it's filthy. I had to play it in the minivan with all the windows up and the sunroof closed. It was so filthy. But it became my favorite album because I opened my mind and entered his world, but I waited till he invited me. So that's how we became close again. I just waited to be invited. I sat there like furniture, just waiting. I'll tell you a funny story about that. Was when we first started doing video games together. It was racing games, and I am horrible at that stuff. The only one I could even play was Crash Bandicoot years ago. He outgrew that, but I still loved it. Anyway, so it was a racing game. He goes to the bathroom, puts his controller down, and then I did a few laps. Now, my laps were hitting the guardrail, careening off cliffs, banging into everything. That was how I did. He goes to the bathroom. Wouldn't you know, as soon as he goes to the bathroom, I do perfect laps. Perfect. So he comes back, and I'm like all excited. And I said, "You missed it. I did the most perfect laps. The best laps I've ever done." He's looking at me like I'm insane. And he says, "Mom," I said, "What?" And I'm all dopey. "What?" And he goes, "I put it on replay. Those were my laps. I thought I was doing it." It his lap's on replay. Anyway, about a year or two later, he did the exact same thing in front of his friends, and I showed them how well I was doing. I still didn't know it was on replay, so how dopey I am. And because he said, "Oh, mom's getting good at this game. You just watch." And then he put his on replay, and I fell for it again. Anyway, but you see what I mean is you enter their world with respect, but you just wait till you're invited into it. But make sure you let them know that you want to be invited in. Does that make any sense? They're not going to invite you in every single time, but yeah. What would you call your parenting style? I don't really have a style. I call it calm leadership, but it's really giving respect to get it. That's what it is. You give respect to get it. Because even then, when I said, how do I get closer to my son and get him to talk to me more? I was furniture. I just sat there. I respectfully waited for to be invited. The two most important skills, parenting skills with teenagers, number one is listening to understand and show empathy, and then stop talking. Don't give advice. If they want your advice, they're going to ask for it. They already know it anyway. And then the better you get at just listening, you become a really safe place to land. No judgment. You just listen to show understanding and empathy, not sympathy. And then they'll tell you everything. My kids told me everything. And but I didn't ever tell them what to do. They already kind of knew anyway, but anyway. Oh, and the number two parenting skill is negotiating with teenagers. Say, I'd like you to come home at 11 tonight from the party if you can. Well, I was thinking more like 1. I'd say, okay, how about we meet in the middle, make it midnight? Okay, fine. If they were having a great time, I'd say, sure, you can stay later. So they didn't have curfews. It was just an agreed upon every time they went out. And even then, if they were having a great time, then I'd say, sure, stay. But yeah. And everything I teach, I'm always going backwards from the teen years. I know how to I would never take parenting advice from someone who hasn't lived with raised teenagers. Because if you don't know what gets you in those teen years, what are you doing teaching? Like, it's like taking financial advice from someone with $10 in the bank. If all they have is little kids and you're taking parenting advice, it doesn't make any sense at all to me. I'm only going to take financial advice from someone with millions in the bank. You know what I'm saying? Like that, I work backwards. You've got to understand teenagers before you can teach any age, because you know how to get there. You know what leads into those years, and you know how it shifts and changes throughout the years. And it does. Parenting changes very much throughout the years. So you want to know where you're going. Did you have their location? When my kids were out, oh gosh, yes. I always knew exactly where they were and who they were with all the time. We had all sorts of rules around that. And my rule was I don't know why I hate talking about this, but yeah, I do. I just find it, because people always ask so many questions about this, and it's just so simple to me, but it gets confusing for some reason. My rule was when they went out late at night, when they were teenagers, they had to call me on their cell phones every 90 minutes, 90 minutes. And it was just so I knew they were still alive and everything was okay. Because I always worried about other people taking advantage of them or taking them somewhere, whatever. So they had to call me. They couldn't text. It had to be a call. And it was like this. Yeah, I'm fine. Okay, click. And that was it. If they didn't call me, I would text them. And I would say, are you okay? And if they didn't, then I think I would text again. And then I said, if I call you a couple of times and you don't pick up, I'm coming to get you. But it never happened. Like, it just, it might not be 90 minutes. It might be a bit more, a bit less. It was just a really easy thing. And I never had to go pick them up. I always knew where they were. I completely trusted them 100%. So yeah, it was just a respect thing, right? But also, if I wasn't feeling very well, I would just say, look, I'm not feeling very well. Can you just stay in tonight so I can relax? And they'd say, yeah, sure. Unless they had something huge planned, they'd say, yeah, okay. It was mutual respect. What's the most enjoyable age of a child to mentor? I love teenagers. They're my absolute favorite age. Love teenagers. Like that. That was my favorite age to mentor, for sure. Because it's not about being clever or smart or knowing more than them. It's about being vulnerable and opening your mind and being a really safe place to land. But it's about being vulnerable. It's about being very, you know what, I make mistakes too, and that's okay. Like teenagers are a really good mirror into your soul. I know this sounds crazy, but they're just a fantastic mirror into your soul. You're going to learn more about yourself through working with teenagers than any other age. And I get hired by a huge portion of my clients have child development degrees, teachers, social workers, school counselors, principals, child psychologists. I've never been hired by a youth worker. They work with troubled teens. If you can mentor troubled teens and get respect from teenagers, you don't need my help. Like that is the PhD in all this. But yeah, well, I might have been hired by youth work. I've been doing this for 17 years now, but they've never told me they were. Usually, and I would know. I can usually tell if they've got a child development degree. They just have a different vernacular. And but yeah, youth workers, I just can't imagine them ever needing my help. Teenagers will teach you more about yourself and about kids and about patience and everything. They're your best teachers. But you've got to listen. That if you're the authority parent, no. If you're the leader, yeah, you'll learn. And youth workers are leaders. A leader is like a mentor or coach. It's more that's the role. Okay, your 6-year-old son doesn't listen to you. It's not him, it's you. You're not a leader. That's all it is. He doesn't respect you. So set yourself up as a leader. Start with if you click up there in my link, it'll take you to my courses or I have one course on how to get respect, or you can hire me for coaching, or my behavior board's completely free. And that teaches you how to give respect to get it. You're setting yourself up as a leader here because they always listen to a leader. It's just the way it is because you're good at listening to them too. I don't know what you mean by that, Angie. What if they begin to hide things but don't want to scare them away? You don't want to scare them away? I don't know what they're hiding, so I don't know what you mean. Is this teenagers hiding drugs? And I don't know what you're referring to. Oh, oh, that's a different person. I thought it was the same person. My 3-year-old loves pens, finds them when hidden, but drew all over the sofa. Advice for how? Um, I don't know. I don't know why he would do that. And draws all over the sofa. Well, uh, uh, how do I put this? I don't know why he would do. I don't know what kind of parent. I had to figure out what kind of parent you are. Why would he do that? What would be the payoff for him to do that? It's just fun. He's 3. Is he 3.5? 3 3/4? How old is he? What kind of parent are you? How do you normally deal with stuff? Like, why would he do that? Obviously, there's nothing. There's nothing preventing him from doing that. Yeah, I don't know. I got too many questions for that one. Sorry about that, but yeah, I need to know what style of parenting you're doing right now, and if he does stuff like that all the time. Okay. During 24-hour media blackout, if your child needs an iPad for school, do they get it? Yeah, of course they get. If they still need stuff for schoolwork, they still get that. But you always get to see the screen when they're home. If they have to take something to school, then yeah. And also, 24-hour media blackout does not include family movie night. They can still watch that. But then, yeah. What's your favorite age for your clients' children to be? I don't have a favorite age. Um, I know my favorite type of client, but I don't have a favorite age of their kids at all. I would say my favorite clients are the ones with child development degrees because they're teachers, child psychologists, principals, because their questions challenge me. Like I like that. And because I don't have any degree, I'm just experience based. So we have such different ways of looking. I'm just common sense based and experience. So we have such different ways of viewing it. So they want to know why do you do that? What's the reasoning behind it? What's the psychology behind it? I love that. And I don't like to waste too much time on that because then I say, you're wasting your money if you're just going to question everything I do. Just do what I tell you to do. And then at the end of the 5 weeks or whatever you've hired me for, then if you still want to know why, then ask. And often they won't. They'll say, I get it now. So I don't like them to wait especially in the first session. I don't like them to ask me too many questions about why I do what I do. I just say, just do what I tell you because and then later on if you want to know why, but they usually don't ask why. But when they do ask why, their questions are really interesting. Some of them are just like wow, oh, that's great. Oh, there's actually a terminology for that. So, but yeah, I'm just all experience based. Just common sense. Okay. When I get overwhelmed, I snap. Tips on how to stop. You only snap because you don't know what else to do. Okay. So you start with my behavior board, or if you want to check out that course, Getting Respect in 5 Weeks, it just sets you up with a plan so that you don't have to yell. But 99% of my clients yell. So on the behavior board, their rule is always no yelling. Every so often, I'll get parents, sometimes two of them. It's rare though. And I'll say, okay, so do you yell? And I'm typing up their behavior board for them and I'm making it up. And I say, okay, your rule is, do you yell? And they'll go, no. And I'm like, oh, it always throws me off. That's how common it is. So yeah, you're in good company. And most of my clients are successful, smart people, but they still yell. So don't worry about it. Just you'll learn what else to do. If you just keep following, you'll learn what else to do. You only yell because you don't know what else to do. I was never yelled at ever. And I yelled once, and it was at my son. He dropped the garbage all over the floor when he was 12. And because I always told him, pick it up by the garbage cans, not the lid. And he picked it up by the lid, and the two garbages just went all over the place. So I yelled. It was quick, like it was a real quick yell, but he'd never been yelled at before. He was 12 years old, and he went pure white. His lips went white. I'd never yelled before. And I instantly, oh my God, he went in his room and he was just shaken up. And then years later, it was the most damaging thing I've ever been through in my whole life. I'm like, God, suck it up, princess. You got yelled at once. Anyway, he brought that up for years just to see me cringe every time he told me. I felt so bad. I went in right away and I said, sorry about that. Can't believe I did that with an idiot. So I bought him a new PlayStation game. So then the joke was he kept going, whoa, 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 every time he'd go to do the garbage, hoping to get another PlayStation game. But I never yelled again. So yeah, it's just I didn't yell because I knew what else to do. That's all. That's all it is. If I didn't know what else to do, I probably would have yelled too. Well, how do I prevent my 2.5-year-old from screaming at the store? I don't know. They're two. They don't make any sense. Oh, the big course is 197. That's the 5-week one. That's all in the link above there. But yeah, every single time for years. Can you please take out the garbage, sweetie? Whoa, 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 whoa. No more PlayStation games, even if I yell. Who employs you more, mums or dads? Um, Mums, definitely. You know why? Is because dads are fixers. Men are less likely to go to therapy. They're less likely to search out help. But they'll do it in business because that's money. But personally, they're fixers. If they can't fix it, it kind of hits them in the knackers, if you know what I'm saying. So that's why I understand men. I didn't understand men till I raised one. I get it. They're fixers. But moms are more like, can you help me with this? And men just feel it's emasculating to ask for help because they feel that parenting should just come naturally. So, but as soon as I say that, then the father always says, yeah, you understand. Yeah, men are fixers. Do you offer a course for teens? Not yet. I keep saying I'm not going to do one. I'm just so busy right now, but I keep saying I'm not going to do one for teens, but I've figured out how I'm going to do it. I'm also going to do one for toddlers when I get around to it. Both of those I'll be doing. Teens are still coaching because there's the result. Okay, this course that I have now is 3 to 12-year-olds. Your results are really good with that. With teenagers, your results are going to be less. Your result, like here's the results you're going to get with my course right now, 3 to 12-year-olds. Here's coaching. If I did a teenager one, of course, here would be your results. Coaching would be very different because it's so much more complicated with teenagers. So the variance between one-on-one coaching would be a lot greater with a teen course because there's so much else going on. It's a lot more therapy, although I'm not a therapist, but it's a lot more working through your own emotional frustrations with your teenager. So that's why that gap is a lot bigger than I'd like. You know what I mean? Like the course, 3 to 12-year-olds and coaching, pretty good. They're not that far apart, but coaching with teenagers, I'd like to lessen that gap a little bit more. So I am working on it. I've got a whole bunch of stuff on it already. But you can understand, like your results are my obsession. Like I just get obsessed with this. So if I can't quite get you where I think I want you to go with just a course with teenagers, I think I'm going to have to let go of some of that because I get really, I don't know. I think through it. I think about it too much. Do you think babies less than a year old know they can manipulate you with crying? A little bit, but I don't worry about it. Like, what I mean by that is if a baby cries because they just want to be picked up, I pick them up. I just did. I really catered to that because I just did. I think they're babies till they're about 14, 16 months. They're just in the cusp of toddlering. They're toddlering, but they're also still kind of babies. So yeah, but it's a gray area in there. So yeah, if they are manipulating me to get loved, yeah, I'm gonna pick them up. When I say a kid's manipulating you, what I mean by that is they're usually manipulating you to so they can do something that they know they shouldn't be doing. Do you know what I mean? Like if they're doing something they shouldn't be doing, then that, ugh, never mind. I know where I'm going with that, but I know I can't explain it very well because I got my head all muddled up here. Yeah, if a baby cries, I pick him up. Yeah, Angie, you're asking all the questions. I don't know quite what you're getting at with all that. Like it's not. I'm not computing it. I don't quite know what you mean. So 2-year-old wakes up crazy and won't stop crying. They either wake up. Some people, adults, wake up grumpy. I'm a cheery morning person. I'm nauseating in the morning. But a lot of people wake up grumpy, and you have to just give them space. I find that annoying as anything. Anyway, but yeah, some people just wake up grumpy. Just give them space. Respect that. Say, yeah, whatever. They might follow you around, but just give them space. They'll settle down. That's not necessarily a bad behavior thing, though. They just wake up grumpy. I've known kids, parents say they just are like the devil. They wake up horrible. And they say, and I say, just give them space. And they say, if they try to talk to them about it, it makes it worse. Let them learn. You might want to, how old is that one? 2-year-old? Maybe just sit and read a book with them or something, just something really calm. And they'll still probably be crazy anyway. I don't think it's really going to work. It's just a mood thing. Their brain's just still sleepy. It's not bad behavior, but well, Kayla's got a lot to say about this. Baby may be manipulative, as in their cry is kind of fake or forced, but they're crying for love because love is a need. Being held close is just as much of a need as being fed and changed. Yeah, 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 with babies, yeah. But if that's a 3-year-old who's acting out and then they cry for a hug, but they're screaming and throwing things, I probably wouldn't hug them. No. Could be night terrors. Not if they woke up in the morning and they're miserable. Are they screaming in fright or are they just miserable, like cranky? There's a difference. Night terrors is a real thing. But one thing that solved it, I've had clients who have said there's this noise machine. God, this thing's so freaking noisy. I can't believe that kids can sleep through it. But it's one that is the noise of the womb or something. And I mean, this thing is loud. It sounds like a jet engine taking off or something. It's a noise machine, and it's for children who don't sleep that well or get night terrors or whatever. And it's a super noisy thing. And I don't want to condone it or I don't know where you buy it or anything, but it's really noisy. And it evidently is very soothing and prevents night terrors. I know a client, I've told them about it and they've got it and they said it actually works for kids who have night terrors. That's a certain thing. That's an actual thing. Are your eyes different colors? No, my eyes are both very light green. It's funny. I was adopted, so I never had anyone that looked like me and my kids until I had my kids. Anyway, but then I just found some more distant relations in the last probably, I think, 5 or 10 years. Anyway, and we all have lime green eyes and huge hair. So they said, yeah, it's just genetic, and we don't go gray. So they said, yeah, it's genetic. Packs of hair, lime green eyes, and we don't go gray. So I've never heard that before. Because when you have kids, one of my kids has green eyes, not as light as mine, but yeah, with your kids, you don't know what you don't get the age thing. Like, like I didn't know that. Like I haven't gone gray yet, and I'm in my 60s, but I didn't know that's genetic, obviously. So, but yeah, it's interesting because when you're adopted, you don't know what to expect when you get older, right? Yeah, what noise is the best to keep my child asleep? It's that white noise stuff. But there is that one that I don't know if they all do it, but there's that one that sort of is like the womb. It's like a shh. That's what it sounds like, and it has like a heartbeat too. And evidently, clients have said it's worked really well. I have a 12 and a 13-year-old, and we'll be doing your course. Can I use the chart for both? Yes. Oh yeah. I stop at age 12 on that course, but you're sort of on the cusp of 13 anyway. But yeah, everyone's got to be on that behavior board. You can't just have a target on the behavior board. Like some parents will say, well, I only put the kid that's acting out on there. You can't do that. And you can't make it real. There's always one target usually in the I always call them the target kid. And but you have to put everybody on there. The whole family has to be on there. Even the baby, I'll put down, and the baby rules and consequences, just be a baby. Like, so they have to be on there because it's a family chart, right? And I would ask them, this is what I want from you. It's like, and try and keep them the same. Like, you don't say, stop being rotten to everybody for one of them. And then the other one, just put your laundry and dirty clothes in the hamper. Like, you have to try and make it look even though you're really kind of targeting one kid usually. But yeah, try and keep their rules very similar. Try and keep it all fair and reasonable. And then say at that age, I would say, and what would you like my rule to be? I'm a yeller, so it probably no yelling. And then what would you like my consequence to be? Do you want me to not be able to talk for 24 hours? And they usually go, yep. Teenagers love that one. Okay. How do you make kids open-minded to trying new foods? My kids were fussy, especially one of them. I can't even remember which one now. I think it was my son. Anyway, so my rule was you have to try everything, but you don't have to eat anything you don't like. But also, I was a health food nut, so I didn't have any junk food in the house. So, like we didn't have potato chips or candy or anything or like that, or no desserts. So it was just either you can have this healthy food or that healthy food. But they had to try everything. But then they would just touch it to their lip part, and I say, sure, that's trying it. But they had to do it repeatedly because they're not just going to try it once a year because your taste buds can change every few months when you're growing up. So they had to try stuff, but there was no battle. I'd just say, here's something for you to try. Just give it a go. And then, no, and they never fought about it because I never pushed them. I never pushed food, but because I only served healthy food. So it's not like they were going to get potato chips if they didn't eat their vegetables. That's something that it's a little bit controversial because I do not push food. I didn't do that thing where, well, you eat what I cook and that's it. If you got a big family, I probably would have done that. I only had two kids. But my mom really catered to our taste too. Like she knew what we all liked and she loved to have everyone enjoy their food. So she just cooked to our taste. Like she cooked what we liked. So, and that's sort of what I did too, because I didn't want to be pushing stuff. I didn't want to force them to eat stuff they didn't like, but they did have to have three vegetables with every dinner. That was a rule. Then they could pick what they were, not each night, but I knew what they liked and I cooked within that framework. So I remember one night, I tell this story often, I made ravioli from scratch. And I made the dough, had that thing where you make your own dough, and I pressed all these, I stuffed all the ravioli. Took me like all day because I made all the dough from scratch. And then I stuffed these things. And then I served it to the family. They went, I hate cook. By the way, I hate cooking. Love cleaning, hate cooking. Anyway, and I served them to the family and they went nuts. Oh, mom, this is the best. So they ate them all up and then they said, can we please have more? I didn't have any more. Like it was just took me all day to make that. And I never did it again. Can we have some more? No, that's all there is. Took me 8 hours to make that. Yeah, I hate cooking. And I made everything from scratch too. And I hated it. 30 years of that. Ugh. Okay. Kids who hurt themselves when they throw tantrums. Yeah, that's really common. I actually have a tantrum busting course. If you're interested in that, it's all in my link above there. I don't know why I'm pointing at you, but anyway, it's in the link up above there. And they will often do that. You just restrain them. When they're getting violent during a tantrum, you restrain them, but you're still not looking at them or talking to them. You're just holding them and you're just sort of waiting it out. You just restrain them. And if they're prone when they're really little, like, when they're 16 months old or 18 months old, they might bang their head on the floor because they don't really understand, I might crack my head open, it might actually hurt. They don't have that, they can't reason like that. So I've actually recommended foam helmets for some of my clients, and they've used them and they say, yeah, it works. So they're just these really soft foam helmets that you could get for babies. So if they do bang their heads around a lot of when they have tantrums. Well, how old is your kid, Sam? You said, how do I get my kid to tidy up? Couple things here. One is do a toy rotation system. That's what I did with my kids. So they had very few toys out at any given time. It teaches them how to focus. And also, when I said clean up, there's like 5 toys to put away. And they never got bored because I was always switching stuff out. So, and maybe once a week you might do that, do a toy rotation system. Also, have a very clean, organized environment so it's easy for them to do. I had like empty spots where everything went. My kids had 3 chores from the age of 3. They had to make their bed every day, put their laundry away every day, and the dirty clothes had to go in the hamper. That's part of laundry. And they had to put their toys away every day. That whole thing took under 2 minutes because I did laundry every day. So there was like an empty hanger where the shirt goes. So make their room clean, or have your house as clean and organized as possible and minimalist. So when you say clean up, it's nothing. But I never even really told my kids to do that. Here's how it would go. They'd say, oh, Mom, can we please watch TV or something? I'd say, sure, have you finished your chores? Or as soon as you finished your chores, and they'd run around doing them, and it was that easy. So they learned from a really little, tiny age, you got to do what you need to do before you do what you want to do. So if they wanted something fun, or if they wanted a snack or something, then they instantly ran around just cleaning up because they knew, unless it was the middle of the day and they could have their toys out. But you see, they understood that you got to do what you need to do before you do what you want to do. So there was no pushback. There was no arguments. They just did it. I have no memory of ever telling my kids to go to bed or do their homework. I might have said, "Oh, it's about bedtime." So, we sort of had a set time, but they just understood that there's just rules in this house. And but if we were watching a good show, we'd cuddle up and they didn't have to go to bed right away because it was so respectful that the rules aren't that. Once you get respect, the rules can be more great. Like, you know what I mean? You don't have to be as strict about them because they're so respectful that you don't have to worry about anything. But I have zero memory of ever telling my kids to do homework. They knew there's no way that there'd be any PlayStation or anything like that unless homework was done first. They just understood that from a very young age. So yeah, is your request of your child fair and reasonable? Is it a very organized, minimalist area that you're expecting them to clean up, or is it chaotic, cluttered mess? You see what I'm saying? You got to set them up for success. Well, yeah, your kids sound like a dream. Well, they're all grown now, and they weren't perfect kids, but they were very respectful. They were never cheeky or anything. Very respectful. But I was respectful towards them too. I listened. I was a really good listener. Like, we talked about everything, and we were fun. We had a great time. I remember this one mom said to me one day, and she goes, "Every time I see you," we had a little blue RAV4, and she goes, "All I ever see is you and your kids driving past like this." Because we're all laughing all the time. We just had a blast because I got all that pesky discipline and respect all cemented when they were little. So I just sailed right through. There was no, and I had mom's look. If they did do anything I didn't like, I would just go, and that would be all it would take. So, but yeah, it's just, I worked for that though. I worked for that. And you can get that too. A lot of people used to say, God, you're so lucky you got the easiest kids in the world. And I'm like, anyone who knew me knew I'd put the time into that. I earned that respect because I gave it. You got to give it to get it. It was a very fun household, a lot of laughter. And they would have been embarrassed to be cheeky to me. Like, they never said they hated me or anything. Like, they would have been embarrassed. Okay, about the toys, putting away the toys. I don't know what you're missing there. Well, for one thing, how old is she? Is she 2 or 12? Like, I don't know. I don't know. Because you said, I keep everything tidy and everything has a place. She listens to everything, but when it comes to putting her toys away, it's like she's a different child. I don't know what's going on there. There's a disconnect. So it's not adding up. Um, oh, she's 2. Oh, well, she's 2 years old. They don't make any sense at 2 years old. I'm trying to make sense out of it. She's 2. Don't try and make sense out of a 2-year-old. They don't make sense. They have no sense yet. They've got one marble and some tumbleweed in there. She's just decided she doesn't like that. That's why she's not doing it. That's it. Doesn't like it. That's why. Was I on a Disney cruise in February? Well, my kids are grown and gone. I'm in my 60s. You wouldn't catch me dead on a Disney cruise. So no. Sounds lovely if you got little kids, but yeah. Do you ever get trolls on lives? I'm surprised actually I've been here for first hour, no crazy. Because I don't give them any attention. It's usually kids. If I get a lot of trolls, but it's usually kids. And I say that one time I got one on here, and the vernacular was so childlike because they just like immature, right? So I said to that person, I said, "Are you 11?" I just sounded like an 11-year-old, and they got pretty mad at me. It was an adult, but their mentality was like an 11-year-old, like just the way they worded stuff and everything. So yeah, they don't come back again. Called 11 years old. Yeah, I've never been bullied, so like never bothered me. I've mentored lots and lots of kids, so you have a doppelganger. Everyone has a doppelganger. I've never met. I had one years and years ago. I was about 20 years old and I was night clubbing. And over a period of about a year, everywhere I went, I was called this other name. And evidently she was too. We were identical, evidently. Huge hair, light green eyes, which is really like, thick hair I used to have. It's all fallen out now with menopause. But um, anyway, and then I saw her once on the freeway. And she was taking an exit, and we caught each other's eyes and both went freaked out, couldn't connect up with her. She was evidently a year younger than me, and I'm adopted, so she could have been, you know. Uh, anyway, so yeah, everyone has adopted. Wouldn't that be neat to meet someone that looked that much like you? I just saw her driving by. She was identical. Bizarre. Okay. I don't know. My 13-year-old has started playing with a 6-year-old sister. So a 13-year-old boy, 6-year-old sister, but teases her. How do I respond? Well, she's going to be flattered that he's playing with her, so she's going to put up with anything he does, except she'll be crying sometimes, but she'll put up with a lot. What I'm thinking here is what's the payoff for him teasing her? What's he getting out of it? I'd have to figure that out. Because why would he do that? Why would a 13-year-old tease a 6-year-old? Is she instigating it? Is she antagonizing him to get attention? Is he just like what's he getting out of it? I'd have to figure that out. If you want to hire me for that, I could figure it out. But yeah, I don't know his payoff. He wouldn't be doing it unless there was a payoff. Yeah, it is too bad we didn't get to talk. But she was not. She had a very different personality. I'm extremely extroverted, and she was more shy. So that was all I know about her personality. Wouldn't that be neat though, just to meet someone that looks that much like? It was so brief when I saw her, but she was identical. I can't remember. I had a story like that. Someone I met. Uh, oh, what was it? A long, long time ago. Something like that was a real freaky thing, and it didn't happen to me, but someone else told me something like that. Anyway, okay. Okay, he says it makes him happy to play. So is that the 13-year-old? No, wait a minute. 6-year-old starts it. Um, Well, I don't know. Like, what's the teasing? I would have to, it's too many questions. What's he teasing her about? Who's around when he's doing it? What's her reaction? Does she laugh? Does she cry? What is he like with other kids? Is he socially active? Like, does he have a lot of friends? Or is he frustrated and he's taking it out on his younger sister because he doesn't have any friends? There could be so many different reasons for that. I'd have to figure it out. Because the solution, I can't offer you one until I know what's the cause. Like, what's the payoff for him? Why is he doing it? Um, oh, TikTok just told me to take a break. I've been doing this for an hour and 30 minutes so far. I've been putting it off because I have to have a shower and I just don't. It's too hot right now. I just don't feel like having a shower. I shower every night before bed, so sometimes I just don't feel like it. But I will anyway. Okay, if he gets bullied, then he could be regaining a sense of control by bullying her. Yeah, perhaps, perhaps. That's what I mean. Like, what's going on socially with him? I'll tell you, it's kind of fun. My kids were 5 years apart. My son is the older one, 5 years apart. And we used to do pretty much, we were always goofing around, the three of us, and just horrendous teasing of my daughter and just making fun of her because she was the youngest one. And then sometimes I'd say, "Oh, we should back off this poor little girl." And she goes, "I like it," because she was the center of attention. So there's tease. I love being teased too. I was the youngest on all the cousins and my brother. I mean, I got teased a lot. I loved it. So there's nice teasing, but then there's nasty teasing. So there's a difference. Is it nice teasing or nasty teasing? Like, I remember one time we had a big family dinner. My cousins were really funny. And I was the adopted one, and they were all, none of them were adopted, but I was adopted. So, and it was always like, I always felt special because I was adopted. So I loved it. Anyway, and I walked in the room and they all, my cousins said, "Oh, here comes the adopted one," or something like that. And I had a friend with me. My friend was horrified. I thought it was hilarious. Like, I just love that kind of stuff. And then I was complaining because I thought I'd put on a bit of weight. So I sat on the couch and my cousin on the other end went, "Whoops," when I sat down. Like, I love that stuff. So is it fun teasing? Or is it like, in other words, how's the person reacting? How is she reacting? Is it upsetting her? So yeah. I like being teased. My daughter loved it. How would you find out? Just no, I'd have to figure out what's going on with him socially. You know your kid. He's not going to be able to tell you. You have to figure it out. Like, if you want me to help you figure that out, but what kind of teasing is it? Because, like I said, my daughter was the butt of all of our teasing and jokes and that, because she was the little one. She was adorable, but she loved it because she was the center of attention, basically. Okay. Almost 3-year-old, so incredibly shy, looking for tips to help her feel more confident. Well, that's sort of something they're going to learn when they get out in the world. When they hit 3, they usually end up in kindy or preschool or something, right? Usually something like that. So they'll get out, they'll just learn. But some kids are more shy than others. Um, it's just the nature. I remember when I was a kid, I never understood shyness. And I just didn't understand how you could be shy. Like, to me, it was confusing. I thought shy people were all mean because they never talked. So I always thought shy people were unfriendly and mean. Because if you're friendly, you talk to people, right? Like, I just didn't. I remember as a kid, I didn't understand shy. I think a teacher had to explain it to me because I didn't understand why you don't just talk to everyone. And yeah. She had a baby voice when she complained. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I'd have to figure out. And what kind of parent are you? Are you like, what's the dynamic there? You know what I'm saying? Like, it could be a million. This could be a lot of different things going on. There's too many different things it could be, but I can't give you a good answer because I don't know. I'm going to tell you one last story, and it's about myself. Just, it's kind of a funny story. It's kind of embarrassing, and then I'm going to get going. Anyway, I was in no, not kindy. I was 3. So what would that be? Preschool, whatever. Anyway, and I remember my mom came to pick me up, and I remember it was brand new. And what had happened that day was, I'm a justice fighter. Like, I hate injustices. I don't do very well with them. And there was a lineup at this play area and this daycare, whatever it was. My mom didn't work, so it must have been like a kindergarten or preschool. There was a slide or something that all the kids were lining up at, and there was kids butting in line, like, because we were all new at this place, and, kids didn't understand waiting your turn. So I was getting frustrated by this, and because people kept butting in front of other kids. So I sorted them all out, and I said, "No, you were next, then you were next." I lined them all up, and I got them, and it was fair and reasonable. I said, "No, you have to wait back there because I hate injustices." It drove me nuts. I don't even think I got on the slide. I was just so busy, making sure everyone followed the rules. So this was the embarrassing part. My mom comes to pick me up, and I heard the teacher talking to my mom. And she said to my mom, "Can you please tell Lisa that she's not the teacher?" The kids were all listening to me and not the teacher. So yeah, shy I was not, but I remember being humiliated because I hated getting in trouble. And because I thought I was really mature, and my mom was laughing, and then she was telling my dad about it when she got home. I remember how humiliated I was that they were talking about me like that. "Can you please tell Lisa that she's not the teacher?" So, oh yeah, so you weren't lying when you said you were a natural born leader. Yeah, I just like fairness, and I like respect, and I was just born this way, obviously. But yeah, how embarrassed! I can still remember how I felt. It still makes me shudder to think that my mom was hearing this. Because I was so embarrassed that my mom would hear this. I didn't know that was a bad thing. Anyway, I gotta go. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow probably because I usually do. It's just the weekends I sometimes get busy and lost in that doing other things. And anyway, check out the link above. I've got everything on there, all my courses and my coaching and the free behavior board. That's always been free and it always will be free. So have a really good night and we'll talk again tomorrow. Bye now.